6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundithavam. The President says that he perceives the offering of free land deeds and homes to those who have endured hardship as a gesture of gratitude. The US affirms commitment to support Sri Lanka's sovereignty and security. The government declares the 15th of this month as a public holiday. An integrated transport plan has been implemented to ensure transport facilities for the people leaving for their villages. Sri Lanka condemns the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. Applications open for the Vasatsiriya 2024 New Year Festival competitions. In foreign news, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh says 3 sons killed in airstrike. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that he perceives the offering of free land deeds and homes to those who have endured hardship as a gesture of gratitude. Looking ahead, the government has plans to provide over 50,000 houses to our people in the coming years. Additionally, the houses provided by the Chinese government during his tenure as Prime Minister in 1996 will also be distributed within the next 2 years. The President has affirmed his commitment to empowering the people and fortifying the economy by ensuring access to education, land, housing and business opportunities. Stressing the importance of broadening economic participation, he highlighted its role in fostering a resilient national economy. These comments were made Tuesday during his presence at the national event in Modara, Randiya, where flats were distributed among residents of the Kajimavatta whose houses were destroyed in a fire. Accordingly, in 2010, 294 homes in this housing complex were allocated to those displaced by the Kajimavatta fire. The Welfare Division of the Defence Ministry arranged a vibrant and culturally rich Sinhala Tamil New Year celebration at the Defence Force Headquarters complex in Batramulla yesterday. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also graced the occasion. The event, meticulously organised to pay homage to tradition and heritage, showcased a diverse array of traditional sports and captivating cultural presentations skillfully curated by the dedicated staff of the Ministry of Defence. In a significant diplomatic exchange, the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan engaged in a telephone conversation on Wednesday with his Sri Lankan counterpart, Senior Advisor to the President on National Security, Sagala Ratnayaka. The dialogue encompassed a range of crucial topics aimed at bolstering bilateral relations between the two nations. Central to their discussion was the unwavering U.S. commitment to supporting Sri Lanka's security and sovereignty. Acknowledging Sri Lanka's ongoing endeavours, Sullivan emphasised the importance of completing the fiscal, monetary and governance aspects of the IMF programme. The conversation also delved into future prospects for collaboration between the two countries, exploring avenues for enhanced cooperation in various spheres. Sullivan conveyed his keen interest in fostering continued engagement with Sri Lanka, underscoring the mutual objective of advancing peace and security in the region. This dialogue marks a pivotal moment in U.S.-Sri Lanka relations, demonstrating a shared commitment to promoting stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. The government yesterday declared the 15th of April as a public holiday. The Public Administration and Home Affairs Ministry said that April 15th has been declared as a public holiday in view of the traditional oil anointing ceremony associated with the Sinhala and Tamil New Year that falls on that day. Minister Dr. Bandalu Gunawardena says that an integrated transport plan has been implemented to ensure transport facilities to the people leaving for their villages for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. This plan is being carried out under the supervision of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, the Department of Railways and the Road Passenger Transport Authority. This plan, implemented by the National Transport Commission, is divided into pre- and post-New Year period. National Transport Commission Acting Director General Naomi Javadana yesterday said that about 1.3 million passengers are expecting transportation services during the pre-New Year period. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
People's Bank Excelsior. Live the life you want.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs issuing a release says that Sri Lanka condemns the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus and calls for strict adherence to the Vienna Conventions on Diplomatic Relations, especially with regard to protection of personnel and premises of diplomatic missions. Sri Lanka wishes to urge all parties concerned to exercise restraint, refrain from the use of violence, and not to exacerbate the already volatile security situation in the region. Sri Lanka conveys its sincere condolences to the bereaved families due to the attack and the government and the people of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Vasat Syria 2023 celebration for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year will take place on the 27th of this month at the Golf Face, Colombo. This event is being organized by the Welfare Society of the Presidential Secretariat along with other ministries, and it will be held from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a number of New Year games and competitions. The festivities will continue with the Vasat Syria musical concert, which will commence at 7 p.m. at the venue with the participation of famous singers. The competitions have been divided into 3 sections, namely State Section, Open Section and Guest Section, and feature 11 competitions for both men and women. These competitions are open to the staff members of ministries and government institutions, their family members, friends and children. Additionally, there will be an inclusive segment to all Sri Lankans featuring 16 competitive activities. These include the standard bike race, marathon race, tug-of-war, wrestling, candle lighting, balloon bursting, the Best Smile, and the New Year Prince and Princess contest, catering to all participants of all ages and interests. And that concludes local news.
People's Bank Excelsior, a comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you. People's Bank Excelsior, for professionals who dare to dream.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
A discussion was held between the Minister of Power and Energy and the Asian Development Bank on the progress of the electricity sector reforms, policy loans to be extended and the ongoing programs. The ADB funding, renewable energy programs including the Morogolla hydropower plant along with regional power cooperation progress, new finance schemes and grants for rooftop solar for SMEs and low-income groups and technical assistance available for the power sector were the key topics discussed at this event with Minister Kanchana Wijayasekara and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team Senior Information Security Engineer Charukal Damanupola yesterday revealed that a report will be sent to the Education Minister regarding the recent hacking of the Education Ministry's official website. He said the initial investigations launched by the SLCERT indicate that the hack was carried out by a local individual. The findings in detail of the hack will be forwarded to the Minister, who will then pass a copy to the Criminal Investigation Department for further investigations to apprehend the culprit, and came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh says 3 sons killed in airstrike. South Korea opposition set to win election. And the US and Japan boost defense ties with eye on China. Hamas's political leader Ismail Haniyeh has confirmed that 3 of his sons and 4 of his grandchildren were killed in an airstrike in Gaza. Hamas-linked media said the car his sons were traveling in was hit in Al-Shati camp near Gaza City. Haniyeh said that the incident would not change Hamas's demands in talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire deal. Israel's military said the sons were members of Hamas's military wing. The group was reportedly on its way to a family celebration to mark the first day of the Muslim holiday of Eid. Haniyeh told the broadcaster Al Jazeera that his 3 sons, Hazem, Amir and Mohammed, had remained in Gaza during the war. South Korea's liberal opposition bloc is expected to strengthen its majority in parliament after Wednesday's election. With nearly all votes counted, the Democratic Party and a smaller ally are set to win over 170 of the 300 seats in the National Assembly. The vote is widely seen as a midstream referendum on President Yoon Suk-yeol, who had 3 years left in office. His People Power Party had already struggled to achieve its agenda in a legislature dominated by the DPK. Despite their success, the opposition bloc is expected to fall short of a 2/3 supermajority, which should have allowed them to override presidential vetoes and pass constitutional amendments. The result could, however, embolden Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung, who narrowly lost the presidential election to Mr. Yoon in 2022, to make another run. Mr. Yoon is under pressure to address a number of issues, including rising food prices, a rapidly aging population, and an ongoing doctors' strike. US President Joe Biden and Japan's Prime Minister vowed to strengthen defense cooperation in the face of a potential threat from China. The plans announced by Mr. Biden and Fumio Kishida during his Washington visit include an expanded air defense network incorporating Australia. Additionally, Mr. Biden said a Japanese astronaut would join NASA's Artemis program to put people on the moon. The astronaut will become the first non-American on the moon's surface. Speaking from the Rose Garden of the White House during Mr. Kishida's state visit to Washington, Mr. Biden said that the deals constituted the most significant upgrade of our alliance since it was first established. Back to the headlines of the world news. Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh says 3 sons killed in airstrike. South Korea opposition set to win election. And the US and Japan boost defense ties with eye on China. That concludes this bulletin of world news, and on to development news. With a staggering investment in Sri Lanka's aviation sector, the government plans to make Hingurakkota the 6th international airport to facilitate international flights. The current international airports are Ratmalana, Colombo, Mattala, Jaffna and Batticaloa. The Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation will invest several billions on this project. With this funding, the first phase of development will focus on extending the existing 2,287-meter long and 46-meter wide runway to 2,500 meters. Upon completion of these enhancements, the runway will be able to accommodate Airbus A320 and Boeing B737 aircraft. That came to you in development news.
Moving on with sports news.
It's on to soccer. 5-time winners Barcelona came from behind to earn a slender advantage over Paris Saint-Germain in the first leg of their Champions League quarter-final in France. Xavi's side were in danger of being overawed by a hostile Parisian crowd, but the Barcelona boss used his bench to magnificent effect to turn the tie in their favour. Brazil winger Rafinha gave them the lead, sweeping home a loose ball for his first Champions League goal, after Gianluigi Donnarumma could only parry a low cross. PSG responded immediately after the break, though, with Ousmane Dembele firing into the roof of the net after a poor clearance, and Ventina finding the far corner after being fed in down the right. That came to you in sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekakthiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීත හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
A delegation from the Singapore Food Agency was in Sri Lanka for 4 days to increase Sri Lankan exports to Singapore. Another aim of the visit was to conduct pre-inspections on several facilities that have offered service to Singapore companies. The Singapore Food Agency is the competent authority responsible for food safety and security in Singapore. The purpose of the visit was also to conduct pre-inspections of slaughterhouses in Sri Lanka that have applied for licenses from the SFA in Singapore, with the objective of assessing the potential of Sri Lankan companies to be approved as sources of poultry products for Singapore. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීත හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, the State Minister of Finance, Shehant Semasingh, has announced that after reviewing appeals and objections, an additional 182,140 families have qualified to receive benefits under the Asfasuma Welfare Benefit Program. He stated that all payments, including arrears related to these families, will be settled by April 18th. Consequently, 1,854,000 individuals are currently receiving benefits. The government has allocated 58.5 billion rupees for this purpose and came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the eastern and Uva provinces and also in the Hambantota district. Showers or thundershowers will occur over most places elsewhere over the island after 1 p.m. Heavy showers about 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the western, central, Sabragamuwa and southern provinces. On the apparent northward relative motion of the sun, it is going to be directly over the latitudes of Sri Lanka during April 5th to the 15th this year. The nearest areas of Sri Lanka over which the sun is overhead today are Battalangunduwa, Madavachiya, Horopatana and Trincomalee at about 12:11 noon. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President says that he perceives the offering of free land deeds and homes to those who have endured hardship as a gesture of gratitude. The US affirms commitment to support Sri Lanka's security and sovereignty. The government declares the 15th of this month as a public holiday. An integrated transport plan has been implemented to ensure transport facilities for the people leaving for their villages. Sri Lanka condemns the attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. Applications open for Vasat Syria New Year Festival competitions. And Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh says 3 sons killed in airstrike. On that note, we conclude this morning's news broadcast, and it's back to your host, Dilshan, to keep you well entertained. A very good morning to you, Dilshan, and it's all yours.